Well, Earl Simmons, known as Rapper DMX, passed away last Friday at the young age of 50 following a drug overdose. Many reported on his musical accomplishments and troubled life. However, he's also a proud Christian who returned to God. He led some Bible studies, including one with over 14,000 viewers. He delivered sermons and always stressed the need to have wisdom in uncertain times. One word of wisdom he shared was, at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, it's going to be God's will. If you try to understand why he does what he does, you're just going to end up with a headache. Just do the right thing. So, Gordon,
It's a good summation of the book of Ecclesiastes.
It is. So, DMX, I mean, he openly spoke about his addiction to crack cocaine, which actually started at a really young age, at the age of 14.
14.
Yeah.
That's when he got his first taste of that drug, and at the age of 50, he went back to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of us, I'm sure there are people watching who have loved ones who they recognize are addicted to something, whether that's drugs or alcohol or something beyond that. I mean, what can we do to help those people in our lives, but not seem like we're shoving things down their throat, not to be super aggressive, but I mean, how do we do that in love?
Well, I think the first thing for friends and relatives is to recognize codependency behaviors that can go from enabling to you develop your own problems because you're around someone with a serious psychological problem. And addiction is a very serious disease. It affects not just the person who's addicted, but it affects everyone around them.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer trustworthy. They are prone to erratic behavior patterns, and that affects everybody around them.
Yeah.
So I would say to friends and family, protect yourself, get educated on what codependency is.
Yeah.
What are the signs? What are the behavior patterns of those who are codependent?
Yeah.
And that's first and foremost, because unless you're in a healthy place yourself, you're not going to be of any help at all to the addict. And get educated on what it means and what are the ramifications of the disease.
Yeah.
The second step is the intervention. And at what point, and there are multiple points of intervention where you go and talk, and this is what your disease is doing. It's doing to you, but it's also doing to us. That can break relationships, but it can also lead to a moment of clarity in the addict that, well, I'm harming the people that I love, and I need to stop doing that. Will it work? Sometimes it does. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And what is the moment of clarity where an addict says, I'm really just destroying myself?
Yeah. And that's, I think, is the bigger question. I mean, here is DMX. He was a Christian, and I know several, Christians.
He was a Christian. He got free.
He got free, but then he went back to it. So the question is, I mean, can you ever break free from addiction?
Within the addiction community, within the recovery community, there needs to be a recognition that once you've crossed a certain line where you're now under compulsion to take drugs or alcohol or whatever it is that you're addicted to, when it's no longer your will, but that will has been overcome by a chemical, these are things you don't go back from. Can God heal you? Yes. Can he take away the desire? Yes. Can he completely rechange your body chemistry and your thought processes? Yes. He can do all of that. Can you go back? Yes. And it's one of those things you have to recognize, I need to stay away. I need to be obedient to what God is telling me to do. Don't think, well, okay, I can presume on the grace of God that I can go back and he's going to protect me and I can get delivered again. How many recoveries do you have is an important question for anybody in addiction. And to realize, well, run your string out, please. and make certain that your decision to never pick up again is your decision.
Yeah.
And that's a decision you need to watch over every day.
And I think that's awesome advice for all of us, whether, I mean, we're facing addiction to a substance or not. I mean, I think of anxiety, you know, that thought pattern of worrying and stuff. I think this similar advice could be taken in that aspect as well.
Explicitly, anyone who sins is a slave to sin. And so pick one. Within the legal community, there's this phrase, larceny got in his blood. What is it that causes somebody to be a career criminal, a career burglar? It's because they got addicted to the thrill of it. It's no longer them anymore. They're now under some kind of compulsion. Anyone who's a serial liar, they're trying to keep up with their last lie. So they have to keep lying and keep lying, and it becomes reflexive behavior. They become a slave to the lie as opposed to dedicated to the truth. Anyone caught in sexual temptation, that's one that can literally be overwhelming. And once you get into a behavior pattern that you give into that, it's very difficult to break that. So it applies to every area. It's unfortunate addiction has gotten sort of a special category, and in some ways it is, because a chemical has now invaded your thought process, and a chemical now has taken over your brain. But it's the same for any sin. And Jesus was quite explicit. Whoever sins is a slave to sin. But it's wonderful. He breaks the yoke. He breaks the chain. He breaks that compulsion. And suddenly, instead of a compulsion for a drug, instead of a compulsion for sin, you now have a compulsion for fellowship with him. That becomes your driving motivation and driving force. You can be free.
And walking in the Spirit helps us continue that intimacy with him.
That's good Romans doctrine.
That's right. You taught.
Apostle Paul, straight from Romans. You know, the law of the flesh is always with a Christian. So don't, think, well, did he have an authentic conversion experience? No, the law of the flesh is always with. If we say we do not sin, we lie. Walk in the Spirit. That's the way to true freedom.
Well, if you or someone you know is struggling with drug addiction, give us a call. We are always here to pray with you and for you.
Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.